We're good? Okay, we're good. So the title of today's Shir learning is Tapping into the Koach of the month of Tammuz. So ladies, it's not too late. We just passed the halfway mark. As the 3 weeks are about to begin, the feelings of Puranut means tribulations, begin to rise within us. And here in Eretz Yisrael and in the north, we don't need Tammuz to usher in these feelings and these emotions. I'd like to focus on the strength of Tammuz and use this tkufa, this time period, to enhance our personal growth. The Zohar teaches that Moshe Rabbeinu was first hidden in the month of Tammuz for a period that lasted 3 months, marking this month as an auspicious time for posterity, for Yeshuot, for salvation. The Sefer HaYetzirah is an ancient sefer suggested to have been written by Avraham Avinu, teaches that each month has a letter of the Aleph base that is connected to its essence. And the letter Chet is attributed to the month of Tammuz. In the Sefer Me'orei Or, written by Rabbi Meir Gabai, who lived just prior to the Chidah, he teaches that Chet is connected to the word Choma, a wall, that which protects a city from an enemy. Strength and perseverance are the key words to grab onto in this month of Tammuz. And our strength has always come from our unity, and the opposite yields destruction. Anybody here born in the month of Tammuz? Wow. Astrologically, you will lean to a certain, take this with a grain of salt, stubbornness. Now that's okay. You're Jewish, and we are Al Keshe Orez. We are a stiff-necked nation, okay? Now, this stubbornness can manifest itself as strength of commitment, no bending of rules, nichishut. For our Hebrew speakers, there's no bending of rules. One of the most frequent words used now by Dovrei Tzahal, anachnu nichushim, nichishut, we are determined. Visualize a brick wall that surrounds a city. The walls that surrounded Yerushalayim that were breached on the 17th of Tammuz. One of the 5 reasons that we fast on the 17th of Tammuz, tomorrow. Tammuz receives its energy from the moon. And here's the good news, ladies. As stubborn and as consistent as Tammuz energy can be, it is mitigated by the moon, which is always waxing and waning. Yesterday's sternness and steadfastness can today be replaced by a more jovial, carefree attitude. It's a dance, and we must keep dancing ad bias goel tzidkenu. I just finished my year of Avelus, as many of you know, just prior to Pesach. My dear father was a Holocaust survivor from a Bobover Hasidic family. He lost his parents and 7 siblings and remained positive to the last day of his life, full of optimism and simchas hachayim. In fact, our last conversation, and we did not know would be our last, because Hashem took him with an ishikat mavet in 4 minutes. He said like this, his last words to me, and this I want to share with you, okay? And for they were profound. And for those of you who know Yiddish, I will say it in Yiddish. We don't always have ratzon. We don't always have desire to do the things that are unpleasant that we have to do, but we must do. We don't always have cheshik, but we have a mission in this world to accomplish. My father always said, Ilui nishmato, trach grois, think big. Think big. We have to think big. This is how our nation survived. Beshuv Hashem et Shiv Tzion Haginu Chomim. We say it every time. Return to Zion. We were like dreamers. Happens to be a very good book, and we have to dream big. Although the month of Tammuz is a month where the Shekhinah is hidden, We have an opportunity to change that reality if we acknowledge the good that lies hidden in the evil or seemingly evil, and internalize that this is only temporary. Rabbi Nachman teaches, "Sha'adam yodeh shekol mahotav hem l'tovato ze me'en olam haba." When a man knows that all the events of his life are for the good, it is as if he's already living in the world to come. Why? Because when you live with this reality that all the events of your lives are for the good, it's called a taste. Me'en olam haba. It's a type of hindsight that all the twists and turns of our life are to bring us to this point precisely where we have arrived. Like the Jews who stood at the Yam Suf, who stood at the Red Sea, and were bursting with Shirah. That's where they sang Shirah. And it was in Parshat B'Shalach, where they received the depth of a connection and understood with certainty why they had to go through the trials and tribulations of Mitzrayim. And that it was all from Hashem. And that brought them to bring Shirah and to sing Shirah. Ladies, Tammuz is a month of great emotion and energy, and the connection to the moon, which is black and white in its appearance, reminds us that although the events of our life often appear to be black and white, in reality, there are many gray zones. And it's up to us to delve deeper and ask for Hashem's guidance. We must take the intensity of this month and develop emotional sensitivity for one another, and thereby turn the midat hadin, the measure of justice, to the midat harachamim, to the measure of sweetness and compassion and mercy. Rabbi Nachman teaches that a person must be very careful to be sure that he is not delaying Mashiach. And how? By being sure that we advance the good and subdue the evil even within ourselves until Mashiach arrives and all evil is subdued. Working on refining ourselves precipitates the arrival of Mashiach. The Zohar teaches, Moshe ze Mashiach. Moshe sanctified his soul for the Jewish people. And Rabbi Nachman teaches that each true tzaddik is an aspect of Moshe Rabbeinu. And how does he get to that understanding? From the word Shiloh. Shiloh is another name referenced from Mashiach in Sefer Breshit, chapter 49, verse 10. What does it say? It says, Ad sheyavo Shiloh. Shiloh, Moshe, has the same numerical value, 345. According to Rabbi Nachman, every Jew, commensurate with his sanctity and spiritual level, has his or her own personal aspect of Mashiach, and he must safeguard it, and he must seek to rectify it. Moshe Rabbeinu actualized all his potential and sacrificed his soul for the Jewish people. When the Jews were deserving of death at the sin of the golden calf, and Hashem informed Moshe of his plan to annihilate the Jews, Moshe's response was, Mecheni nami sifracha. Wipe me out of your book. If they're not going to be, I'm not going to be. Achieving the humility of Moshe, where he saw himself lowly in the eyes of Hashem, yet confident to write, Va'ish Moshe anav mikol adam. He wrote those words. He wrote the words. The man Moses is the most modest. He wrote that about himself, but he had the modesty to write that of himself. What does that mean? He had that duality. He understood that he was subservient to the greatness of the Jewish people, and the greatness of the Jewish people eclipsed and superseded his self-image. Rabbi Nachman teaches that this is what is meant by an aspect of Mashiach within us. Almost finished. We must. No problem. I can go on, usually by the hour. We must direct our thoughts and energies to an appreciation of Hashem and love for the Jewish people. And with that, we can sacrifice for them and not devote ourselves to their rectification. When we work on fixing ourselves, we hasten Mashiach's arrival. During this period of the 3 weeks, when we are commissioned to focus our desire on the rebuilding of the Beit Knesset, the question always arises, how can we connect to a concept that we never saw, nor did our ancestors? We didn't see it. We haven't seen it. We dream of it. Our parents haven't seen it. Our grandparents haven't seen it. I will share just a few points to ponder on that topic, and maybe before Tisha B'Av, probably when I'm in Hochstadter, I'll continue on this. Tehillim Kaf Beis, 102, Kuf Beis. Ata takum u'trachem Tzion, ki et l'chonana, ki ba moed, ki ratzu avadecha et avaneha, v'chonanu afara. I will translate. David HaMelech says, this is the time to have mercy over Zion, and he's pleading. Ki et l'chonana. L'chanen is a form of pleading, because now's the time. This is it. Okay? Ki ba moed. The time has come. Ki ratzu avadecha et avaneha, because your servants are longing for its stones. They're waiting for its stones. V'chonanu afareha. And they're pleading even for the dust of the stones. Ladies, it is our longing for Mashiach that precipitates his arrival. The verse uses the word l'chanana, to plead, to petition, to long for, and then it's repeated again. V'chonanu afara. Achrei mea ve'esr. After 120, we will be asked a question. And one of the questions is, Tzipita liYeshua? Were you longing for the Yeshua? Were you craving it? We say it 3 times a day in Daphne, but were you actually craving it? We ask Hashem 3 times daily, and there's one sentence, and I conclude with this. Kol hachisaron shebachayim shelanu noveh mechuban Beit Hamikdash. All the lackings that we have in our life, each one of us individually, collectively, as a nation, as a people, whether here or abroad, it's all stemming from one point. We don't have the Beit Hamikdash. Rabbi Reuven Sasson, the Rosh Yeshiva of Yeshivat Ramat Sharon, a big follower of his Torah teachings, eloquently elaborates on this theme. All the hardships, all the pain, all the disunity is because there's a hastara, because there's a hiddenness of Hashem's Shechina, and because we have no Beit HaMikdash, where Hashem's presence was so vibrant. And I'm going to conclude with an example from the Zohar. The Zohar teaches the ketoret, the incense that we use in the service and the avodah at the Beit HaMikdash. We know that our sense of smell is the most potent and the most long-lasting in our memory. The olfactory. This is the smell. You can forget the taste, you can forget the vision, you can forget, but the smell, like the smell of your Bubby's house, I still remember when I saw certain cooking, I think of her, okay? The smell of a perfume for somebody to love, whatever it may be, that stays with you. Now listen what the Talmud says, that when the Torah was burning, our neshamas were transported back to the smell of Gan Eden. The smell of Gan Eden, and immediately an overwhelming sense of tshuva enveloped us, so that you could not sleep a night in Yerushalayim without doing tshuva. It means if you had a hirur, if you had a thought of a misgiving of somebody that you had wronged, somebody that you had slighted, or somebody that you had whatever, and you thought about it before you said Kriya Shema, we say Areini Mikabel, and then you couldn't go to sleep. You had to go right into tshuva. You couldn't. There was a koach in the air. What a pure existence. What a level of nikiyut, of purity, of cleanliness. What a pristine life totally in touch with our neshamot, waiting and longing to cleave with our Creator, a form of a primordial existence on a daily basis, lady, on a daily basis. So there's much more to say, but hopefully I've given you a taste of what we should be feeling, what we should be thinking, and what we should be longing for. And if I have to stop, I'll stop. Okay? But otherwise, it's to be continued. In any case, Baruch Hashem. We should all
No, I always appreciate when there's a directive. Okay, now I should have to work on my sensitivity towards other people in this. Of course, if I had Katoris, it would obviously make it a lot easier. Anyways, thank you very much.
Pleasure.
Okay, so we're continuing the laws of Shabbos, the Halacha of Utzah, getting closer to the end. We've been speaking about garments, malbush and tachshitim, garments and ornaments. And we said that a malbush, this is sort of the basic, malbush is any soft material and clothing kind of material can be adapted and can be made into who is that? Oh, Nina. Okay, all right, no interruptions, please. Okay, so a malbush could be made, any kind of clothing material can always be made into clothing item, but a tachshit, something made out of hard material that's not typically used for clothing, has to be made for a particular purpose. It has many, many more limitations. So, for example, we talked about like plastic bag, some kind of plastic, so you could. It's not typical malbush material, but you could use it to protect your head, but you can't use it to protect your hat underneath it, right? So everything has because your clothing is an extension of your body, right? So you can protect the extension, things that are extension of your body.
So is the hat an extension in that sense, so that you can cover that?
The hat is an extension of your body.
So
because you're not protecting your body. You're not doing anything to protect your body. You're doing something to protect the hat. So, for example, you can cover a cast, if you're concerned about keeping it dry, but if you're concerned about keeping it clean, you couldn't. Like
a lot of guys have like those specially made plastic hat covers,
right.
Especially designed for that, so they can't.
There's a machlokus. There are those of the opinion that you cannot use them. There are those who are of the opinion that you can use them because they're specifically made. Interesting, what you can use is the kind that's connected to a coat.
Yeah.
If it's and it's a hood, that you can use. Okay, so we're going to talk about.
What about the shape? So we cannot take a plastic bag.
You can.
Oh.
You can, because you're not really, because when you're putting a plastic bag, a rain bonnet on your sheitel, you're protecting your head also. The wetness goes through your sheitel. You're also protecting the sheitel, but you're protecting yourself also. Okay, so we're going to talk a little bit about accessories that are permissible and things that are not permissible. So things that are functional attachments. So, for example, buttons, hooks, loops, safety pin that's being used for something. If it has no purpose, you can't carry. Cufflinks, collar stiffeners. Do they have these shoulder pads? I'm sure they have those. Suspenders, belts, guard. You get the idea. Things that are clearly functional. Those are things that are permissible to use, to carry, to wear outside of an eruv. Or in a place where there is no eruv. Okay. And the same thing applies to adornments, right? Like are you allowed to have like bows on your dress? Like you would think that's like it doesn't have a functional purpose, but it does have a purpose. It's decorative. So we have bows and pins and ribbons and fringes and stylish cuffs and things like that. So all of those things they're adornments, they're additions, extensions to your clothing, which is allowed. Okay, so then non-functional attachments. So are actually, they are permissible. These particular ones that I'm going to mention because they're meaningless. They're not anything really that you think about or that you care about. So manufacturers' labels, shotness labels, identification labels, spare buttons sewn into the lining of a jacket, these would be, even though they're meaningless, they're just kind of sort of a part of life, okay, then we have attachments that things that are they're not meant to be part of a garment. So we got a few things here. So okay, so you can carry these things, lint in your cuffs, incidental, okay, a loop in the lining, a loop in your collar, button threads that are remaining in your coat after a button's fallen out, can't actually pull them out on Shabbos. Okay, so then also things that are not presently, not always used all the time, but that are attached. So like I said, a hood that's zipped onto your coat, you could use. By the way, a feather in a hat is permissible. I told you no once before. Yeah, okay. I makes life a lot easier. Okay. Okay, girdle with dangling straps. What?
This is why there's no,
This is in all of these shurim that we're talking about, Hotzah does not apply in a situation where there's an Eruv. Everything that we're talking about is a place where there's no Eruv, which, in America, I've heard, I don't know, but I've heard that there is places without an Eruv. And the Chutzlar, and of course in Eretz Yisrael there are places where there is no Eruv, or there are situations where an Eruv has fallen. So you do need to know these. You do need to know these halachas. They're not just. The problem is that we forget. We forget there is such a thing as hotzah. So that's why I left it to the last, but we are spending a lot of time on it because it really is. It's an important. It's the first Mishnah of Mishnah Shabbos. It's an important issue in halacha, in the laws of Shabbos, and it's something that because we live within Eruv all the time, we don't think about it all that often. Okay, so then telephone. It is exactly. So if you can attach it to your ear, then for sure.
and figure out how to hook them.
Yeah, right. So that's a joke. You can't. Okay, it's just in case anybody was wondering. Okay, so all right. So then these are prohibited attachments. Okay, so broken, unusable accessories. So loose buttons are actually not. You can't like. I don't know if you do what you do if you only have one coat and there's a button half hanging out. Can't pull the string. You can twist it somehow to make it tight, but you can't. I'm not sure exactly what he means, but like you can't pull the string to tighten it. But if you
Could you
can't.
attach it with a safety pin?
Pardon me?
Did you attach it with a safety pin?
I guess so. How would you do that? Go to your house. Go. If anybody has that problem, go to Chaya. She's going to show you how to stick the safety pin in. I guess if you have a big enough one, you could do it. You could do it, right? Okay. Okay. So crack buttons. Apparently, you can. The button is not whole. You can wear it. Okay. Torn. Now here, the next series of things. It depends on what your intention is. If you're planning to fix it, then you can't wear them. Okay, and if you're not planning to fix it, then you can wear them. Okay, and I guess the thinking is, that's what the man wrote, that the thinking is that they're kind of they're unimportant, especially if you're not going to fix it, it's really unimportant. So like this little loop on the back of your coat, right? So if it's torn and you have no intention of fixing it, then it's nothing, then it's incidental and you can wear it. If you are planning to sew it at the first possible moment, that would be, you would be carrying something that's not essential. Okay, broken butt, a buckle, what else? Here's interesting, tzitzis. Okay, someone who's wearing tzitzis and they're pasul, right? You can wear them if they're a garment, right? And that's what we're told to do. They are told to do. Wear a garment with 4 strings. Well, what happens if one of the tzitzis is missing, or there's not the right number of strings or knots or whatever it is? It's pasul. You can't wear it. You can't wear it. You can't carry it. You can't wear it on your body on Shabbos. It's a useless item, and so it would not be an extension of your body. I mean, we talked about the fact that a woman wearing kosher tzitzis would be carrying. Anybody wearing tefillin would be a problem, but on Shabbos. But a man wearing women's clothing, a woman wearing men's clothing, these they're not an extension of your body, right? That's the criteria that we've been using for clothing being worn. It's not an extension of your body, so it would be not be permissible. Okay, so what else? There's a few things like wetness on your. Anyway, I think we'll skip that. So I think that's it for that's it. That is it. That is all.
So you can wear like rain boots.
You can wear rain
Rain
boots.
boots over your shoes.
Yes.
Even though you're protecting your shoes, but you're also protecting your feet.
You're protecting your feet. So if
Right.
your purpose is to protect your shoes, possibly not. But if your purpose really your shoe's going to get wet, your feet are going to get uncomfortable. So you're doing it to protect your feet more than your shoes. Any other questions? Okay. All right. Shut up. No, I can't shut up.
Export.
I used to know how to do this. Really, I used to know.
I know.